Okay, so first off, if you're watching this, it means that I actually got it up onto YouTube and edited in some meaningful way. So thank you for tuning in. The first thing I want to try to do is to talk a little bit about what the purpose of this experiment is. And second, I want to talk about what it is and what it is not. Then I want to get into the mechanics of what I will be doing here on the stream versus the audio only, which I'll explain in a second. And then I'm going to probably just go right into generating some characters. So, as the title of this would indicate, this is a hybrid storytelling experiment called Heroes of Hommlet. And its goal is to take a published module, my favorite one of all time, as you can see from the background, and by running a solo RPG on the left-hand side, generate an audio drama on the right-hand side. And so this has been done before. There's plenty of solo RPG YouTube channels as well as podcasts. The ones that I have listened to, and I'm sure if you're tuning into this, you probably have listened to them as well, would be Tale of the Manticore, Tales of Mystara, Legend of the Bones. Perhaps you've watched a more YouTube-focused solo RPG experiment, such as the ones on Bandit's Keep. And they all vary from less narrative to more narrative. The audio ones that I mentioned earlier usually have interstitials where the narrator goes out of world and begins to talk a little bit about what's going on, behind the screen, as well as narrating the combat in a way that cues in the successes, failures, dice rolls, saving throws. And they're fantastic. And they're awesome. I love them. I hate actual play, yuckity yuck around the table, Doritos cracking, Dragonborn cleric ninja assassins. I don't have any interest really in any of those. But my plan here will be a little bit different in that I'll have two artifacts coming out of the experiment. The first will be a series of YouTube videos where we will actually go through the solo roleplay for a few reasons. One, recording it will actually help me then translate it into the audio narrative, right, the audio book. And then the other will just be an interesting exploration of first edition AD&D. So if it isn't evident by the eidolon you see before you, I'm going to try to do this experiment using first edition Advanced Dungeons & Dragons. And so while we go through the experiment, I'll also have a chance just to refresh myself with the rules. And as far as I know, none of the solo RPG podcasts, really any of the ones that I've found on YouTube, are using first edition Dungeons & Dragons. There's probably a good reason for that, to be honest. First edition Dungeons & Dragons, first of all, is notoriously complex, Gygaxian, spread all over the place, contradictory, arcane. But that's also part of its charm. And I also don't think that the combat and some of the other pieces lend itself directly to the style of podcast, like A Tale of the Manticore, where he leverages basic in order to keep the combats fast and loose, because he's actually narrating the hits and the saving throws and the damage rolls in the audio. So if you picture a distilled version of an AD&D combat being created into a podcast, you wouldn't necessarily need to worry about casting times and segments. You would just get the high lines of what is happening. So that's kind of the goal. Out of the real combat, or the solo RPG combat, will come a heck of a lot less raw minutes of audio, and we won't necessarily worry about the bookkeeping of segments in the audio portion, but we can cover it here. So that's kind of what I hope to do. So 2 artifacts. The YouTube portion here will be the solo RPG portion. It'll be dry. It won't be full of narration. But if you were to then listen to the companion episode of the audio drama, you should be able to draw lines between the two. I actually have no idea what the ratio of minutes to minutes is. In other words, if I solo RPG for 2 hours, does that produce 30 minutes of meaningful content on the audio side? I'm not actually sure. My goal will be to produce about 30 minutes of audio drama, audio book, dark fantasy audio. All right, so that's the plan. Very, very much a derivative of those creators who have come and laid all the groundwork for this. Tom over at Solo Dungeon Crawler, John over at Tale of the Manicore, Legend of the Bones, Tales from the Fireside, or Legends from the Fireside, Swords Against Madness, another great new one I've started listening to. Daniel over at Bandit's Keep makes really, really fantastic content. The Basic Expert, another guy who does a really nice mix of old school content, actual play, solo play. So all credit to those folks who have sort of spawned this new kind of media and storytelling. And also, obviously, all credit due to Dave Arneson and Gary Gygax, who created Dungeons and Dragons, and it's the 50th anniversary. And so this experiment is going to differ a little bit from some of those in that I will be essentially running through a published module. Now, a published module doesn't necessarily mean a railroad or a story that's going to go from point A to point Z, at least in my initial thinking. Who knows where things will go, but I will be driving the story through the classic Temple of Elemental Evil, which of course starts with the village of Hommlet here. So, and my goal here will be to create an in media res start for this campaign. So I'm going to generate some characters, and then I'm going to kind of place them into the audio drama in a way that makes some sense. That isn't just we meet in the tavern and decide to storm the moat house. Spoilers, there's a moat house. But we're going to go ahead and create the characters organically using the rules, and then we're going to go ahead and place them in the story in ways that make sense. So, and while I will not fudge any dice rolls, I do need to get a reasonably playable set of initial characters. And I don't actually even mean that by way of their statistics. I simply mean that I would like to represent some of the AD&D kind of core classes, right? So I would like a couple of fighter types. I would like a roguish type, and I would like a clerical type, and a magic user-ish type. So those 4 core archetypes that you think of, or at least I can picture the grognards throwing eggs at me now. Fighting man, magic user, cleric. I would add roguelike in there, only because obviously the module is an AD&D module meant to crawl around in dungeons and moat houses and such. So we will have some kind of a thief in the party to at least mock the percentage chance of them opening a lock in the early levels. So we're going to get started here, and this is my kind of initial thought as far as the setup of the stream, and I'm open to suggestions here. So we've got our dice roller, we've got our PDF reader here, which we'll be using to reference the rules. We have the rather useless camera that's on my face, which maybe we'll just get rid of that eventually. And then I'm going to just pop a quick notepad up here, versus as much as I would love to have another camera focused on my hand and some parchment I found that didn't really work very well. So we're going to go ahead and get started creating some characters. And again, we're not going to necessarily worry about naming them on this channel, but more for posterity's sake, I want to document the dice rolls. And so when I do roll that 1800 strength, you know that I wasn't cheating. All right, so we're going to get started here. I would also anticipate that this particular channel will have less editing, whereas the audio drama would take up the bulk of the work in editing. So if you see me take a sip of a coconut LaCroix, my apologies. You won't have combos crunching and LaCroix popping in the audio drama, but you may get a little bit of it here. In fact, in the future, when I figure out how YouTube works, I may just do these live and then just later catalog them. So you can kind of play along with me. Of course, you get spoiled, but it is what it is. So let's jump over to the player's handbook. So as many of you probably know, the player's handbook came out second after the monster manual. And if you were to buy this game and pull it off the shelf in 1978, you probably would have been a very excited 14-year-old. Your excitement may have immediately dissipated as you went to generate a character after Gary gives us some of his wisdom here, which numerous channels can give you the deepest of deep dives on the history of Advanced Dungeons & Dragons. Captain Courageous, Daddy Rolled a 1, The Basic Expert. All those folks have amazing content in and around the versions and the differences between them and so on and so forth. So I won't go into any level of depth that would approach the work they've already done, but I encourage you, and when I figure out how to put links in the channel, I'll certainly link to those channels. They're both entertaining and educational. But as we can see here, we start a section called Creating the Player Character. Now, again, you're 14. You pick this book up, bring it home, got your dice. You're in your room, underneath your blanket with your flashlight, and you're really excited to play Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. It notes here, of course, that you need a character record. I do have some actual character record sheets, but again, we'll just sketch this out in Notepad from now. The awesome thing here is that you actually get no instruction as to how to create your ability scores. It actually tells you here, each ability score is determined by random number generation, which is useful. And the referee has several methods of how this random number generation should be accomplished, suggested to him or her in the DM's guide. And the great news is that the DM's guide won't actually come out for a year. So this book will be a paperweight for approximately 1 year until that book comes out and actually tells you how to generate the scores. But because we have the fortune of, or misfortune, I should say, of being in 2024, we can, of course, jump over to the DM's guide. Got to get our free cover. Possibly the greatest piece of D&D art ever. And we will go, I realized here we can get a little more zoom. So perhaps this. All right, nice. And we will, in fact, reference the Dungeon Master's Guide, known as the Bible to some. Those are dice. Here we get a quick lesson in statistics and the bell curve. Linear is D20. Bell curve is 3D6. Shout-outs to GURPS. We even get a lesson on poker. All right, but we actually get the methods that he spoke about the year prior. And so, as you can see here, we have five methods. 1, 2, 3, 4 methods. Wow, should learn Greek. Method 1, all scores are recorded and arranged in the order the player desires. 46 are rolled and the lowest is discarded, so pretty generous compared to, let's say, Iron Man Basic. Method 2, same thing, but you're rolling it an immense amount of time, so you get 12 scores, but you're not dropping. And maybe in an adjunct piece, I'll actually do the probabilities on these, but roll them in order and every single ability you roll 6 times. And then method 4 to me is a lot of work, right? So you're basically generating in order. You're doing basic style, which is 3d6 in order for the 6. You just make 12 characters, and then you shoot some number of them in the head, and you keep the ones you want. For our purposes, since we're trying to generate a starting party here, method 4 seems somewhat useless. I'm going to actually just try method 1, and let's see where we go. Coming from somebody who plays a lot of basic, it actually seems fairly generous to me. Maybe if we get an absolutely ruthlessly awful, unplayable character, despite all probability otherwise, we can adjust it. But for now, I'm going to let the dice kind of guide us. We may not get superheroes, but hopefully we'll get some good characters. So we have the white dice over there. They're kind of lame. Let me actually get some more interesting dice. And I'll actually see if the contrast works here. But I think I've actually got, let me see what I got here. Got some old Gen Con dice. I've got some, I don't know how swaglicious some of these dice are. Let's see. Let's at least use 4. Ooh, I got a Mythic Con West die. I got a Jeff Con die. I got a Gen Con 10, 9. Yeah, I mean, I don't have a Gen Con 2 Memorial die, but I got some baller ones here. Let's see. All right. So hopefully these will show up. I'm going to actually this is going to be a test roll of dice to see if they actually show up okay first before I do them. All right, hold on. Bear with me here. I know this is super exciting. So I think those will show up pretty well. All right, so we'll try these dice for now, since just plain old white die are kind of lame. All right, so here we go. All right, so we're gonna roll 46 6 times. So we are arranging in the order we want here with each of these scores. So first roll. We're starting off with a bang here with a gentleman's 9. So character 1, we got a 9. Not bad, so we'll drop this 2, and that's a 6. So this guy's got a 15. Decent, for sure. Another great one. So we got a 16 in this case with our Jeff Con die. Jeff Con, of course, being kind of the last Mace Con, dedicated to the memory of one of the founders. Very cool. All right, here we go. Ooh, not too interesting, a 10. All right, so we don't have any real duds so far. We got an 11. And the last one. Ooh, that's awful. All right, so 7, 8, 9. Another 9, actually. It's not that terrible. All right, so we're not going to actually arrange these yet. We're going to actually get a number of characters together because AD&D has some very esoteric score requirements that we'll need to take into consideration. All right, rocking and rolling here with a 15. Ayuz has cursed us with an 8. All right. Another dud, a 12. Another dud, a 12. this one's not the worst. 14. And we're going to grab one more. Ugh. 10. All right, so kind of a one-hit wonder-ish, that character. Wouldn't be terrible for basic, but for AD&D, kind of a dud. All right, we'll get an 18 one of these days. Let's see. All right, we got an 11. We got a 11, 12, 13. Yeah, 13 counting is a prerequisite here for playing this game. This Gen Con die is, let's get this Gen Con die out of here. I'm just really not satisfied with it. So. Well, on cue, my new die rolls the lowest. All right, 6 plus 6 is another 12. Not great. You also keep in mind AD&D, you've got some racial requirements. Your race can sort of tweak things a little bit. A 10. This character. Oh, this is rough. That's a 6. That's a 6, folks. All right. Gonna have to be our grumpy dwarf. All right. Wow. All right. So our grumpy 6, 12. Now we get a 17 and something. So not bad. Character 4. Sorry. Let me try to use my real estate a little better here. Yeah, so this is where I'm supposed to give some speech about, I love to role play characters with shitty scores and, how it's fun and all that. But I do want some level of survivability here. And, I am going for an initial 6. Again, they will not be introduced necessarily all in one scene in a tavern where they just bump into each other. But my goal here is to actually have 6 to work with. All right, character 4, we have a 10. Nice, pretty nice. We have a 16. Nice. Man, if we could get a ranger out of this, that would be drop the 3. It would be 8. Would be a 12. The amount of paladins that were running around in 1980 is completely unbelievable. To actually be able to roll one seems completely ridiculous. All right, maybe I'm lying. Actually, that's another 16. This character turning out to be pretty good. Might qualify for a busted class. All right, it's an 11. Sorry, did I say a busted class? Yeah, there's no pretense of balance in Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, which is another great thing. Some of the classes are functionally useless, but still fun. All right, so character 5. That's a pretty good character right there. All right, character 5. Not the worst. We have an 8 to 6 is a 14. We have a little bit of a dud there. 5 and it's a 9. It's a 13. The other aspect of this edition, as well as OD&D and Basic, is that if you can manage to get a decent score in what's called your prime requisite, usually the abilities that are considered, or the attributes, abilities, scores that are most important to your class, you can gain some kind of a benefit, like to your experience, right? So a percentage bonus to your experience. So in these kind of like solo games, a few of them actually try to record XP by the book, and some of them haven't, just depending on who's running it. We got a 13 there. Character is less than exciting. All right, our last one. Actually, as of the time I'm recording this, I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do. I would say one of the things about just doing it per episode means that characters like the Thief that are awful don't really get the benefit from being cheap to level up. Oh, we lost our opportunity there, 11, 12. So they're advancing at the same pace as an elf, let's say, in basic. And so one of the advantages of the Thief is that it can actually level quickly, making up for its hideous ability to hit, its hideous Thief scores, and its just relative sort of uselessness. Whereas something, just using basic as an example, an elf leveling up every 5 episodes and a thief leveling up every 5 episodes, the amount of power you get from leveling an elf up in something like basic far exceeds a thief. So I do want to find some kind of a balance. 15. And I may just use actual XP, which of course requires a little bit more bookkeeping. I'm sure it'll be riveting TV to get Excel up and calculate. Oh, we got it. 12, 17. Get Excel up and calculate, how many points we got for killing, 14 giant rats and 3 kobolds. Although to be, 6, 7, 8, 9, 13. Ooh, this guy or girl is man, we're not going to get an 18 out of this whole oh my lord. All right, we got a 16. I'm sure somebody eventually, if I ever get this up on YouTube, will at least, I'm sure I've messed up at least one recording of a score in here. Hopefully I haven't cheated too bad. Wow. All right, so 15. This last character is a banger, as the kids say. Okay, so let's go back to our player's hand. Now that the Dungeon Master's Guide has by the way, if you have any thoughts on questions, I love Gary's literally the GOAT, but don't think that Gary couldn't shill back in the day. A lot of people called him he wasn't a businessman. I mean, look at this. I mean, many products may purport to be satisfactory for use with advanced Dungeons & Dragons, but only those noted as official or authorized AD&D items should be accepted. Do not settle for substitutes or second-rate material in your campaign. Ask for approved, bold AD&D products only. Kevin Sabete, eat your heart out. All right. So far, this is all we really need from the. I'm lying here. We're going to need a lot of shit from from the Dungeon Master's Guide, but we're going to have to go back and forth here quite a bit. Another interesting choice would be: do we want to use the secondary skills table, or do we want to use proficiencies, which would be added in later books, Survival Guide, Unearthed Arcana, Oriental Adventures, and so on and so forth. I actually have not decided that quite yet. My thought is to eschew Unearthed Arcana in those books and try to keep it as simple as possible. To my knowledge, there's really nothing in Temple of Elemental Evil / Village of Hommlet that would require us to do it. The only thing I can think of that may push me in that direction is that since Village of Hommlet, Temple of Elemental Evil are absolutely and completely rooted in Greyhawk, and I will be using the Greyhawk gods extensively because they are a kind of critical part of the story, we may need those optional rules to use this book. And again, I don't even know if we can make. We're going to make a cleric, obviously, but the clerics in this book that I'm using here, which is sort of like the bridge between 1E and 2E, may actually require non-weapon proficiencies. I haven't read this in a minute. We can kind of figure it out. But The idea here, of course, if you're unfamiliar with the idea behind clerics of a particular deity, having played something like Basic or whatever, the deity will sort of guide your character in the direction of both their alignment, the weapons they use, and in this book, actually, it starts to add additional sort of abilities and spells, right? So again, I don't want to belabor the point. We are going to have a cleric. There's a very, very strong chance that it will be a cleric of St. Cuthbert for reasons that will be revealed in the story. So you can see here that if you are a cleric of St. Cuthbert, you have to be these alignments, and then you're sort of encouraged to use these weapons: club, flail, mace, staff, sling. Again, spheres would be introduced in 2nd edition, but essentially spheres are groupings of spells around a theme, like divination, protection, healing, necromancy, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So anyway, we'll get to that in a second, but you get the idea. I want the clerics in this game to absolutely have a connection to one of the Greyhawk deities, because they again are crucial to the story. Okay. So we'll cross this bridge when we get to it. Hopefully we'll be able to make a cleric here. So let's go back to the player's handbook. And we're going to actually, strength. So the ability tables are one thing. We don't have to worry about exceptional strength. But you can see here, if you're not familiar with AD&D, and again, these YouTube videos are going to be an in-depth esoteric exercise in dredging up these AD&D rules, both for my enjoyment and research, and to make 5th edition aficionados cringe with pain. But they're sort of, I don't want to say it's random, but they're very much not aligned along the every 2 points of ability score would give you a bonus. They're straight out of Gary's brain. And so you can see intelligence here is doesn't even really have any bonuses. Wisdom does. Wisdom is one of the most important scores in this game. It's actually one of the few ways to get bonus spells. But anyway, let's go actually to the classes, because I want to just quickly try to understand if any of these score arrays that we have would qualify us for any of the harder to qualify for classes. So, and you can see here also there's another limitation, which is that certain races can only be certain classes. So racial stock, what an awesome term of the time, can only be a certain class. So if you look at, let's just say, a strong class like a ranger, you really only have 2 choices. You're either a half elf or you're a human. Okay. I guess one other note, we're going to be mostly good guys, and we're going to work as a team, and we're going to try to. We're not going to have any assassins, and we're not going to be backstabbing the party. Dave Trampier. That is a Catoblopius, which is one of the most brutal AD&D monsters or D&D monsters ever, and I don't know. That one guy looks like he is going to get the fuck out of Dodge. And this other guy thinks he's going to be able to get it with a spear. Boy, is he wrong? Okay. In addition, AD&D imposes level limitations. So, in reality, a lot of these are not a factor. I mean, anyone who's honestly played a campaign, a non-Monty Hall, non-insane campaign, likely took their group up to 4th or 5th level. People who actually claim that they did everything by the book and had a 15th level AD&D party, I'm very suspicious of. But you may be out there, and if you are, then more power to you. But the main thing to note here with respect to AD&D 1st edition is that humans have unlimited, first of all, they can be any class, and second of all, they have quote-unquote unlimited advancement in all classes. So metaing here, if we were to play this campaign through to its end, we may be 7th, 8th level. I mean, if this thing goes that long, I've done something right, and I'll look back upon this first episode with a great deal of nostalgia, but you can see in most cases the level caps don't necessarily matter realistically, and then your strength can actually give you some slight bumps. This all changes in our Unearthed Arcana, but again, other videos will get into the nitty gritty of that. So certain classes, for example, can only be human. Monk, most notably, is it just monk? Is it also paladin? Potato, paladin. There it is. Yeah, paladin. Unlimited. So Gary's idea of that, and then again, we can debate it, but we're going to play by the book for the time being. Okay, so this is critical as well. So when we select the racial stock of the character, we may or may not modify the character's attributes here, and we can play this to our advantage in order to qualify for our class. Critically, I also want to point out a hack that every 14-year-old AD&D player did, which we will not do, is that in order to qualify for exceptional strength, okay, which is these absolutely amazing yet bizarre percentile that are next to 18, here is the letter of the law. Okay, ready? I mean, maybe somebody will kill me for this, but furthermore, fighters with an 18 strength are entitled to roll percentile dice in order to generate a random number between 1 and 100 to determine exceptional strength. Exceptional strength increases hit probability and damage done with attacking. Oh, it fucking does it. Yeah. For encumbrance, etc. It's extremely advantageous. So it does not say that I need to have rolled an 18, right? It just says fighters with an 18 strength. And perhaps there's a strategic review or Dragon article where Gary calls you a heretic for that cheat. But I may go there because we do have a couple of 17s we can work with. Okay, and what that really means for us is, if you look at this chart, and again, these bonuses by modern standards are nothing, but it does put you potentially into a space where you can do some pretty nice damage, even at first level. So, but I mean, this is ridiculous, right? The hit probably not ridiculous. This is just the way it was. It's very, very difficult to crest +1 on your hit probability in AD&D. You have to actually, first of all, no non-fighters can, because they can't have exceptional strength. It's also interesting that every fighter, essentially, there should be no fighters in the AD&D world, no player character sheets anywhere, barring maybe a wish or something raising your strength, that don't have exceptional strength, right? So anyway, so back to our racial stock table. You can see here there is one race that allows for a strength bump, and that is a half-orc. So we could potentially, if we want an 18 strength for a fighter, half-orc would be the route that we could go. So, all right. So, and here we also have racial min-maxes, right? So this will actually constrain our ability. We have to find, in order for us to min-max our half-orc or get a half-orc fighter with with exceptional strength, we, for example, could not crest 12 in their charisma, which, if you look at our grid, we have two characters that scored 17s, character 3 and character 6. My initial thought, just based on eyeballing it, is that character 3 will make a pretty good fighter. Could make a very good half-orc fighter, as we could get ourselves a 14 constitution. We could just drop our charisma to 8 and just be a grumpy half-orc fighter. But anyway. Okay. So let's look at I'm not going to really get into the races yet. I'm going to actually do this in the other order, which because I just want to refresh my. Here's a racial hatred chart also in AD&D, which is which is something you wouldn't see these days. But again, this is Gary writes a preface where he says D&D and AD&D is for everybody. So, if this makes you mad or whatever, I guess I'm fine with that. I don't really. It doesn't make me mad. This is racial enmity as shown in classic literature, and it's fine. This experiment will not contain or condone or dwell upon racism. But the idea behind this, of course, is that elves are grumpy towards dwarves, and everybody hates half orcs, and humans prefer to deal with humans, right? So, all right, there we have a sweet rendering of what these races look like, and we are going to go down here. This is hit dice, so the amount of okay. One minor hack I am going to make, and this is only because by the time this episode wraps and we've created our characters, it's going to have taken some time. We're at roughly like the 41-minute mark here, and we haven't created one character yet. So I do see a world in which I at least want them to start with max hit points, because I don't want to have to re-roll a character initially. Look, if they die, if he dies, he dies. If he dies, it's okay. I want to give them a reasonable chance to survive, mostly looking at you, magic user, and God forbid should we actually be dumb enough to try a monk. All right. We haven't even gotten to the ability score requirements yet. Okay, here we go. These are weapon requirements. All right. So, what do we need to be a cleric? So we know we need a cleric, for sure. Primary attribute of clerics is their wisdom, of course. They have to have at least a 9. So unlike OD&D, you can't just have a 3 wisdom and be an absolute brick of a cleric. If it's greater than 15, we can get this experience reward. Again, I'm not sure how I'm going to actually do that. I'm leaning towards actually calculating XP. Strength and Constitution are obviously good for a cleric. Yeah, it is good for a cleric. Clerics can wear really any kind of armor in AD&D, so their ability to get into combat and fight a little bit is super useful. I would lean towards... We need a wisdom of at least 16 for our cleric, and that's mostly because having a wisdom of 16... And sorry to keep jumping. The thing about having a wisdom of 16 is that this table is critical. Okay, you want these stack. Okay, this middle column called spell bonus stacks. Okay, so you pretty much have to have a 16 wisdom. It's a non-starter because it grants you, as we'll see down here in the cleric table, just a cleric who gets out of bed. This is actually far more generous than basic, but a cleric who gets out of bed in the morning at first level is only going to get themselves an acolyte. An acolyte is only going to get them one first level spell. But if you have a 16 wisdom, or technically a 14 wisdom, you'll get access to 3 first level spells, okay? And that is pretty critical. We'll get to my house rules on spells, of which I have just a few that mostly serve to just make the game playable. I don't know how many times I've said I'm going to play it by the book, and then I've actually jumped in and said you're going to have max hit points, and I have some house rules on Magic. But whatever, it's my fucking game, and I can house rule whatever I want. But you kind of see my point here. As far as survivability, kind of getting out of this danger zone of level 1, 2, maybe even 3, having the extra spells is really, really, really super critical. So just looking at our scores. We know we're going to need somebody with a 16. So that rules out character 2 as our cleric. Character 6 has got, just like the scores are way too fucking good to waste on our cleric. Character 5 also doesn't have a 16. Again, we're leaning into character 3 being our fighter. I think I kind of like character 1 is pretty strong. Character 4 also pretty strong. I mean, realistically, my cleric can have a 16 and a 15 constitution, maybe. Charisma, even. They could be kind of like the face person of the party. So yeah, I think our cleric will likely be character 1 or character... Could be character 4. Could be character 4 also. I think 1 or 4. Okay. So we're definitely... Let me put some notes on this thing here. Of kind of the possibilities. It could be cleric, and so we know we need at least a 16 to pick from. And then this guy here, where's my, this one here, I think, pretty strong possibility that this will be a fighter, and again, leaning into the idea of a half-orc. A half-orc fighter. I can't really see any other class being a cleric. This guy here, character 6, the Juggernaut, he or she, I'm gonna go a little further here, but he or she is more than likely, I'm gonna try to be something that requires stringent character scores. All right, so druids are subtypes of clerics. They're pretty good in AD&D. They suck in dungeons, right? So they need a minimum wisdom of 12. They also need a charisma of 15, right? So, like character 6 could certainly make a smoking good druid. I think that, and again, you need at least a 14. Character 2 could make a druid. Pretty decent druid. So we could put the 14 in our wisdom to get the bonus spells, the 15 in charisma. So again, possible druid here. But again, without the 16 in wisdom, you do start to kind of dud out a little bit. Yeah. So and the druid spell progression similar. You get 2 at level 1 because your spell, you can't turn undead, and your spell list is a little restrictive. But you're just getting a lot of spells. You are getting a lot of spells to pick from. All right, you are by being a druid, you are a cleric. Therefore, you do get the spell bonuses. It's not just clerics. Druid is a subtype of cleric, so you do get the extra spell. All right, so potentially a druid. That's it for clerics, at least in this edition. And you can identify plant types when 3rd level. Imagine that. They get fairly powerful. There's some absurd rules about how they have to fight the king shit a fuck mountain druid later on. But they can't wear like plate armor, which is kind of bad. So they're not as good at frontline fighting. All right, fighter. I think we already pretty much covered it. Fighter is like a textless class. There's just nothing there. You can just use all weapons. Big hit die. That's basically about it. At least in this edition, they don't have weapon specialization. They don't really have a whole lot of everything, which again makes the exceptional strength thing really their only killer attribute, for better or for worse. All right, Paladin. All right, check this out. We need a strength of 12, intelligence of 9, wisdom of 13, constitution of 9, and not less than a 17 charisma. Okay? All right, so... And again, they can only be human, right? So there's no way to cheese our way into an 18 strength and get a Paladin and get exceptional strength and get all of this complete and utter bullshit on the right. So DM's nightmare. Detect evil at 60-foot distance. +2 to saving throws. Like level 1, you just cannot get disease. Built-in cure light wounds. ability to cure disease of any sort for each 5 levels. So once per week, you can like cure somebody of lycanthropy. You get a protection from evil at all times. So, all right, yeah. Huge. Oh, the goat. One of the goat pieces of artwork. This is, I believe, referred to as a paladin in hell. You know, just so awesome. Everything new sucks so bad compared to this. Look at this. It's a barb devil. You got a bone devil. Looks like an ice devil. That's another barb devil back there. Horn devil maybe with this big trident. You got another. Oh yeah, a paladin in hell. There it is down the bottom. And that's Dave Sutherland. Shout outs. All right, so I'm actually, although we qualify for a paladin, the paladin class irritates me, and I also think that it just makes for a miserable experience as far as like the revelatory ability of detect evil. I think they make fine NPCs. If I was a dungeon master and I had to deal with a paladin constant horseshit, I would probably get very, very frustrated. Every time he walks in, to get a cabinet repaired, he's detecting evil on, on the cabinet maker and all of his children looking for cultists. It's just terrible. It's difficult to adjudicate. So let's take a look at Ranger. Ranger is also a fighter. It does have some stringent requirements. So we need a strength of 13, intelligence of not less than 13. Not less than 13, 13, 14 or greater constitution. If it has 15 in strength, intelligence, and wisdom, he gets 10%. All right. So our 6th guy is going to be a ranger. I'm making that decree right now. Ranger. Because it's pretty rare that you... it's pretty rare that you qualify, honestly. But, we can, yeah. We can actually do that and put the 17 in Dex and make like a kind of an archer type. So that's going to be a ranger. So that's going to be a ranger. Character 3 is going to be a fighter. Character 6 is going to be a ranger. Character 1 is going to be our cleric. All right. Character 2 is going to probably be our magic user. Character 4... I think I want character 4 to be a... You ready for this? Fighter thief. Maybe I'll make that a druid, actually. And then... maybe we'll just be a thief. Okay. I kind of want a multi-class thief, fighter thief. But that would basically take me off druid, right? So, all right, sorry, that was an uncomfortable silence. Okay, let's move forward here. Magic user, again, it's pretty much a one. Dex is certainly super helpful, but pretty much a class where you just need intelligence. 9 and 6, right? So, quite honestly, that's why. Yeah, quite honestly, you don't get bonus spells for high intelligence. You get bonuses to learn spells. High intelligence is super useful. You generally want a higher one to be able to get the XP. But you need a 16. So, right. So, like, this guy here would have to be our magic user. This druid. I guess, but but we have another 16, which is like just useless for a magic user. They can't really like use a crossbow in this. They can like throw darts and daggers. It's pretty shitty. So, yeah, I think that crappy character 2 is going to be our magic user. I'm still up in the air about really what to do with character 4 here. All right, so let's keep going. Magic user, specialist wizards are they're fun. They get like a bonus spell. The only one they give you in here is, I think, the illusionist. Yeah, the illusionist in everyone. Minimum dex of 6, so 15 and 16. So, if we wanted an illusionist, we'd be backed into a corner. We just don't have the scores to support that. So that's pretty much off the table. All right. So I said we needed, despite deriding the thief and how fucking useless they are, we do need one. So 9. The only thing they have is dex. So we would like greater than 15 to get a bonus. We just don't have it. I mean, this thing I'm calling a druid could be a multi-class fighter thief. Would be one way to go. The other thing to keep in mind is we have a 15. We can tweak this with an elf. So elves get a bonus to their dex. So do halflings. So if we had a 15, we could also squeeze a. We could milk this, but unfortunately we've got this, right? So let me actually double check that. Do halflings get +1? This is why. I know I haven't scrolled up in a bit, but here. Right, so I'll get the bookmarks up. I'll make this a heck of a lot easier. We have our... Sorry. Well, this is bad. Yeah, I'll get the bookmarks, right? So only the elf can get... Oh, sorry, look at this editing. The halfling just has the minus in front because... Yeah, elf or halfling would get a +1 bump to strength and dexterity. I kind of want a halfling. I'm make a halfling thief, just because I can, story-wise. All right, so that one's kind of locked in. Really, this is the last one we're dealing with. This guy here could be pretty powerful. Yeah. I really also want a dwarf. I want a dwarf for a number of reasons. Dwarves, because I want to try and do a dwarf voice. I also think that they are, in a lot of ways, like thieves in the dungeon. They're really good, and they've got a bunch of abilities that are super useful underground. They're tough. Their saving throws are good. Yeah, so they have some racial hatred bonuses too. They can whack goblins, orcs, and so on and so forth. Giants are tough to hit them. So they suffer a little bit on the charisma side, but other than that, they're pretty good. And they can be fighters, thieves, or assassins. In this case, we can make a dwarven fighter thief, which would be pretty sweet. Okay. All right, I think we're almost done. So the last couple of classes, well, the bard doesn't count. The bard is just a fake class. The assassin, again, as I pointed out, is like, we're not gonna have any evil guys. And the last one is sort of the monk. He's got it kind of. The monk is the most unusual of all characters. In AD&D, the monk is just kind of silly, in my opinion. I could actually qualify. I think 15, 15, 15, and 11. 15, 15. Nope, we don't. Yeah, so never mind. We would need our ranger would have to basically be our monk, and there's no way I'm taking a fucking monk over ranger. Yeah. All right, so scratch the monk. So this guy, I think, tough. I kind of do want a druid. Let me think on this for a second. Let me go back to our class restrictions here. Oops. Sorry. Let me get our bookmarks up here. Oops, let me minimize the ribbon. Maybe this isn't even bookmarked. This is riveting, I know. Let's see here. Well, whatever. Oh my god, the bookmarks. All right, cool. Okay, well, let me minimize the ribbon. Sorry. I know this is the greatest thing that's ever been recorded, but this is critical at this point. All right, so we're gonna go with. I think we're gonna go with the druid. I think it's interesting. Just this is more meta, but like, you know, druids matter in this adventure a bit. Like, there's an NPC druid, you know. So I think it can work. All right, so we're going to. We are going to begin to flesh this out a little bit here. So we're going to start. We're going to start with. What's the highest that yeah. So my halfling, I can make a halfling druid. They can only get to level 6 though. All right. Well, let's work on the ones that we are sure of. Man, our cleric could be a dwarf. He can go to level 8. Or is that NPCs only? Oh, it's NPCs only. Sorry. Okay. Never mind. Yeah, that's what I thought. So you can be a fighter and a thief. And the halfling can only be a fighter and a thief. Okay. All right. Sorry about that. I'm a moron. All right. So we will be we'll be a half. Oh, so be a halfling thief. We're gonna be a human cleric. We are gonna be a. I'll be an elven magic user. Get that trope out of the way. Actually, I'm gonna make elves kind of rare, right? In this game, we're gonna be a half orc fighter. That's a little bit of a cheat. We're gonna be mostly human. Man, this druid is. So I don't have a dwarf. Really bothers me. Really bugs me. I gotta have a dwarf. So, as cool as it would be to have a druid, let's not. Let's make a dwarf fighter. Let's do one multi-class just to say we did one. Which, you know, famous last words. Probably gonna regret this badly. Okay, because, yeah, just looking at dwarf here, right? I want to give him maybe this is min-max. I want to give him a lever to continue to advance, even though I don't think we'll ever get to level 9, but, famous last. Maybe he'll die in the opening scene, but, yeah. So I'm going to go with a fighter thief, just to walk through how you would do it, and have everybody on the internet yell at me that I did it wrong. Okay, so let's work on our half. Okay, so we have a roll to make. All right. Okay, so we're going to need a couple of things here, and I know we just hit an hour. We just hit an hour. Fuck it. All right, I'm going to go a little bit longer and at least make a few of these characters. So we're going to make our half-orc fighter. Critically here, though, we need to understand what is the level of our exceptional strength, okay? Now, of course, everybody rolled, aught for this, but let's just sketch out what we think will be our strength here. And, we know what our strength is going to be. That's dumb. You may also be asking yourself, hey, I play a lot of 5th edition. What's up with the order of the abilities? Well, the order of the abilities here are strength, intelligence, wisdom, dexterity, constitution, charisma, and that's because the only prime requisites in AD&D were strength, intelligence, and wisdom for the fighting man, magic user, and cleric, respectively. So we're going to roll for exceptional strength. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to increase our strength to 18 because we're a half-orc. Okay? So that is we have used our 17. Blip. All right, and we're gonna roll exceptional strength in a hot second, but intelligence totally irrelevant for this guy. In fact, I'm gonna dump a 6. Wisdom can be the 11. Dex can be the 12. Con can be the 13. I don't believe either any of those. None of those are actually going to help. They're all zeroed out. Con of 13 versus Dex of 13 is stone nothing. And then Constitution of 13, I guess gives like a. Oh, we have to have a 13 because we're half-orc. Oh, well, we already did it. Okay. And then a Dex of 12 does nothing either. Dex of 12 isn't going to do anything. Okay. Great. And then we have our Charisma. Cha. Which is going to get beaten up a bit. So that will be our 10, which will go to an 8. Okay? Right? Because, minus 2. Okay? All right, all used up. Blip, 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 blip. So this one's going to get a plus. This one's going to get minus. All right, so here we go. Double zero is 100. So it's 1 to 100. Wow. All right, a 19. All right, so yeah, you need to roll over 50 to get anything. So it is. That would have been a reason to stop the tape, is to just fake that roll. All right, so there's our half-orc fighter, and as I said, we will we'll start with max hit points. The other one here that's probably pretty easy is the magic user, right? So we're gonna add strength of. Yeah, let's be like super thematic here. Let's do strength 8, intelligence 15, wisdom 12, dex 14, con 12, and this bookish magic user has a cha of 10. Cha of 10. Hit points. He's got Gentleman's 4. Alright, we're going to make this a human cleric of St. Cuthbert. Again, this one's not that interesting, but we'll have... when the other 16's going in wisdom. 15 in strength doesn't do much for us. And we don't really start getting... We get a dex bonus at 15. Our defensive adjustment bonus at 15. It's pretty decent. I don't think... 15 strength gets you stone nothing. Oh! Yeah, so... Yeah, and then con is like... I mean, it certainly helps, but you're not going to get hit points until 15. So, that's something to think about. All right. Okay. So, back to our character. I think I don't really care about strength. It's not going to give me anything. So, int, same thing. This guy skipped math class. Wisdom, of course, will be our 16. And we're going to go with a dex of 10. I'm going to go con 15. A hardy soul. And then just grading constant reminder that his fellow PCs don't go to church enough. All right, so 15 is going to give us a +1 bonus. So cleric would normally be 8 hit points. We're going to get 9. So that's pretty good. All right, character 2, character 3. Character 2 is pretty much done. Character 3 is pretty much done. Character 4 is our dwarven fighter thief. All right, you ready for fun here? All right, so first of all, he's a dwarf. And again, I keep saying he. I got nothing against, I happily play women characters all the time. My issue is that I'm going to have to voice this thing, and for me to do a credible female voice is going to be somewhat of a joke. So I'm going to stick to probably male characters unless I can get some, at some point down the road, get some voice acting talent. But for now, me trying to do a female voice is going to be nails on a chalkboard. So it's going to be bad enough that I'm going to do a dwarven voice or a halfling voice, but I can't possibly do a female voice. Okay, our dwarf fighter thief. All right, so the first thing we have to do, as we saw before, is we need to make sure that we qualify. So dwarves, right? We got a minimum constitution of 12 is sort of the constraint of a dwarf, not a problem. And then we will go ahead and we're going to go ahead and adjust. The dwarf gets a -1 charisma and a +1 constitution. So, and we are a fighter and a thief. So these 16s are going to have to go in our prime requisites, right? So 16. Intelligence, not a factor. Let me switch that around. Wisdom, also not a factor. Our charisma is going to get dinged here. So charisma is going to get dinged, so I'm going to do wisdom 10 there. All right. Dex, we're a thief, so that's going to be our other 16. Again, we qualify with a 12, but we'll bump that to 13. And then, what do we? We used our 16s, we used our 10s. Oh, we're going to use our 11, but our 11 is going to get shrunk down to a 10. All right. So you may be asking yourself, well, how many hit points do they get? Well, the short answer is you get half of each. So the fighter die would give us 10. Maxed is half is 5. The thief die would give us 6. Divided by 2 would be 3. So 5 plus 3 is 8. You need 8 hit points. So we have a really survivable thief, which is pretty sweet. The other option would be, I'm just thinking outside the box a little bit here, is to put the 16 in Constitution, buffing it to a 17. So we would earn no XP bonus in our fighting exploits. Okay? But hear me out. Check out dwarves. Because of their very nature, dwarves are non-magical and do not ever use magical spells. However, this nature gives them a bonus with regard to saving throws. Attacks against their attacks by magic wands, staves, rods, and spells is 1 for every 3.5 points of Constitution ability. So 14. So we would get up if we. Yeah. So they get the same bonus also versus poisons and toxic substances. So, let's be really dwarfy here, okay? And then really we're just asking ourselves like which of the two abilities do we really want to lean into? Okay? So I think I'm going to keep I'm going to put the 12 in strength. And I know I won't earn a whole lot of XP in strength. But I'm going to put this other 16 in Constitution, which will get buffed to a 17. Alright. So, pretty cool. So that one got buffed. Our 11 got a negative. And we used them all. Alright, so actually let's go back to our hit point adjustment. I believe in multi-class, it just applies to the level, but you don't get it twice, right? So a Constitution of 17 would normally get us a +2 bonus. Okay? Bonuses only apply to fighters. Other classes may be given a maximum. All right, so let's say we got a +3 at first level for the fighter, a +2 for the thief. 2 plus is 5, 2.5 is rounded down as 2, so it's just gonna be 2. I think. I'll check in on that, but again, I think we're gonna end up with 10 hit points now. Okay, almost there. Let's see. We got our Cleric of St. Cuthbert. We have our Human Magic User. We have our half-orc fighter. We have our dwarven fighter thief. We have our halfling thief. Let's go ahead and do this guy. So we know the strength is going to be minus. So let's just get the strength to like not negative. Which I'm pretty sure if we go to 8 strength, just like nothing happens. Absolutely nothing happens on an 8 to 9. Okay. So that's easy. We'll make strength 8. Intelligence. Oh, let me triple check. I think there's a con minimum for halflings. Let's see. Oh, here it is. Okay, so 6, 6, 3. Yeah, so we just got to make sure we have a 10 Constitution. All right, no problem. Intelligence will be 13, sure. Wisdom. This guy's not too wise. 9. So those are our 9s. We use one of our 13s. We know our dex is going to be our 14 modified to 15. We have our con. Again, we have a floor there. We have 3 13s to work with. Sure, and then that leaves this as a 13. Let me make sure I did that right. So our 2 9s got used. 1 got minused. We used our lone 14 on dex, which got plussed. Right? And then we got 13, 13, 13, 8, 9. We used them all. Okay, looks good. So we're a thief. We get a d6 in hit points, which is pretty generous. So we'll get 6. I mean, it's a little bit of a bummer. Dexterity 15 is not that exciting. It's going to get us that -1, but it doesn't get us a +1 missile bonus. So, such is life. He just didn't try that hard in school. Okay, character 6, kind of our all-star here. So, just to reiterate, the Ranger, we met all the requirements for it. We could be a half elf if we wanted. Thematically, I don't want to do that. Well, I mean, they could advance to 8, huh? 8. 8. Nah, let's just make him human. But we'll build some cool story around this guy. I mean, hopefully he lives, but... Okay, so in order to get our XP bonus, we need 15, 15, and 15 in Strength, Intelligence, and Wisdom. Strength, Intelligence, and Wisdom. So we're definitely doing that. Sorry, I'll on future episodes fix that. All right, so strength on this guy, we know we need that minimum of 15. I mean, we're just loaded here. So I think I'm set the strength at 15, and I'm going to set the intelligence, obviously, at 15. One of my other, but I want the cheapest one. The wisdom can also be the other. I'll set the strength at 16. Intelligence at 15. Wisdom at 15. And then that'll get us our bonus. And I'm actually going to, I think, set the dex at 17. 14 or greater constitution. Oh my god, this class is brutal. Alright. Strength 13, intelligence 13, wisdom 14, and a 14 or greater constitution. Shit, can I even do this? Yeah, I can. Alright, it's just a matter of... Okay, so so Ka is my lowest score. I have nothing related to charisma in this whole fucking class. So that's going to be the 12. I just pick my nose on camera. Alright, but he needs a con. What is he a con of? God, that sucks. All right. I don't know that I can do this, and because I need to put my cheapest. Yeah, I need a 14 or greater constitution. So I actually have to use one of these. I mean, I can put the 7. So nothing is related to dex either. Okay. All right. Cool. So we'll throw that 17 in Constitution, and then the dex is the 13. Yeah. Let me make sure I didn't cheat here. Uh. 12 for charisma, 15, I use the other 15. I'm going to go left to right, actually. I use the 16, I use the 15, I use the 15, I use the 13, I use the 17, and I use the 12. Yeah, is there a reason not to... So a con of 17... as a fighter is going to get me a nice hit point bump. That'll get me +3. Maybe I'm overrating that. I mean, it'll actually get me a damage bonus. Yeah. All right. I probably can't pass that up. All right, we're going to use the 17. I'd pictured a cool guy with a bow, but I Yes, it's not to be. All right, so we're going to use the 17 there, and then we're going to use the 16 in con. Okay. Looks good to me. Okay, well let's just go through this one more time. The world's most complicated class, the Ranger. Yes, I meet all the requirements. Easy. And I didn't cheat. I use my 17, I use my 15, I use my 15, I use my 13, I use my 16, and I use my 12. Okay, God, that's insane rolls. Okay, and I will get my 10%. I want my $2. I will get 10% because I have a 15 in strength, I have a 15 intelligence, I have 15 in wisdom, and I have a 16 constitution. All right, my 16 constitution definitely kicks ass. That's going to give me 2 extra hit points, which is sweet. And so I will start off with a gentleman's 12 hit points. Okay, so we're at an hour. We're almost at an hour and 30. I'm going to wrap it up here. With these initial 6 characters, and we'll do another session where I take these characters. I think, if we're going to keep these maybe an hour and a half-ish, which is even a fairly long video, we'll go ahead and fill out character sheets. Maybe I'll get some fillable ones that look cool in the PDF reader here. We'll go ahead and fill those out, or I'll figure out a camera setup to do some hand-drawn ones. But yeah, we'll go ahead and sort of do all the details. There's some things like spell selection. For the thief, of course, we'll have the scores. Maybe we'll go ahead and give these folks some names. And again, I got 6. I am not going to necessarily begin adventuring with all 6, but these will be the first 6 that will enter the story in a way that makes some sense. So, okay. Hopefully this works out, and hopefully this is the start of something cool. And really appreciate y'all watching. Hopefully, by the time this comes on the internet, I'll have some really cool transition out scene. But for now, I don't. So thanks for watching, and see you next time.